Good morning, Pink Boots family. This is Angie, and I am your communications director. And we wanted to kind of kick off or talk about Volunteer Appreciation Week. And I thought what was couldn't be better suited than speaking with one of our members about uh, being a volunteer and how she became in Pink Boots. So, welcome, Laura. Thank you so much for joining me.
Thanks for having me, Angie.
Yeah, so I guess tell me and tell everyone else, how did you get into the business as
Of,
far as the
of
industry?
the industry. Oh, wow. All right. So my name is Laura Ulrich, and I got into the industry by via bartending. Well, yeah, I was a bartender at a bar and applied at a brewery in Fort Collins, Colorado by the name of Odell Brewing. And I
Mm,
applied for a packaging job and they gave it to me. And then I worked for them for about a year and a half. And then I moved myself out to California. And I've been with Stone Brewing ever since. And I've been with them for 22 years. So
wow, amazing.
I got into the industry because the guys would come clean the beer lines at the bar. And for whatever reason, I thought that was pretty fascinating. And I wanted a different view of, instead of being forward facing, I wanted to be behind the scenes. And so when
Mhm.
they had the opportunity for the packaging line, I applied. And again, they gave it to me. And so here we are,
Oh,
23 and a half years later. Long time.
wow. So every journey has some plot twists, of course. So what are some defining moments that you remember in your career that shaped you and who you are in the industry right now?
Oh wow. So I guess the first one would probably be when I moved out to California. Everybody I met, the first questions out of their mouth was, "Oh, do you homebrew?" And I was like, "No, I don't homebrew. Why would I homebrew? I work at a brewery." And so that was kind of a big thing. Was I didn't realize how big the homebrewing movement was here, especially in California, versus when I was in Colorado. Not that it wasn't big there, but it was just kind of one of those things that everybody talked about homebrewing out here. So that was a pretty big one. Another one, and probably in the same vein, when in 2004, 2004, nope, 2006, um, they held CBC in California, and Stone Brewing was like the welcome party because we had a brand new brewery to show off. And I remember meeting Doug Odell, and asking him, like, "Oh, look at me now, like I'm working for the brewery." And he was like, "I didn't think you were into beer." So that's kind of like the running joke, is that people didn't think I'm
Mm,
into beer, and whatever. And then I'd say another big one was probably when I did meet Terry when she was on her tour, and she did come to the brewery, and she was the first female that I'd met who made beer and made a career out of it. And so I think from that point on, I was like, okay, you can actually, this is sustaining and I can make a lifelong career inside this. Because at the time, I had no idea what I was going to do.
so it truly is important to see someone in the industry that you can mirror yourself to. So that was a big part of having Terry there for you.
Yeah, as we know, representation matters. And so whenever you see somebody, again, I was working at a brewery with a bunch of guys, and I didn't know that women had done this. Not that they hadn't, and there were definitely several women, but this is also the early years of like social media. So people weren't super connected via Facebook or MySpace or any of that stuff. We didn't have
Hmm.
those things. And so now that you have that, you have a little bit better representation. It's definitely not equal. But whenever you see people doing the things that you're doing or that you love to do, it makes it a little easier to swallow that you can do it.
Okay. Okay. So thinking back from where you started to where you are now, um, what, as far as in Pink Boots history, what has made you the proudest?
Oh, there's probably several things. Back in 2008, after Terry, I had met Terry. and then she continued on to her road trip, and then she kind of started meeting more and more women along the way. Excuse me. She created this list so that we could be connected. And so we started the first like forum where through like Google Docs or something, I think it was how we did it. Whereas that way women could ask questions without feeling the concern of being not looked at appropriately or looked at stupid, or, you could feel comfortable asking a question.
Absolutely.
They always say that there's no dumb questions. However, there's still that stigma you feel about asking a question that you feel is stupid.
Right.
So we did that. I assisted with the help of Candace Moon. Nope, not Candace Moon. Why am I forgetting her name? I apologize. The craft beer attorney, we established the trademark for Pink Boot Society. And then from there, we also hosted the first meeting, official like Pink Boots meeting here in San Diego. Gosh, we had the first conference in San Diego. So there's been a lot of firsts in San Diego and a lot of firsts for Pink Boots. So that's kind of been really awesome.
Yeah.
Those are the things I think I'm proud of.
Awesome. That's awesome. So, um, let's, I guess, dream a little bit. I would say 5 to 10 years from now, where do you see Pink Boots being? Or where would you like them to be?
Obviously, I still think there's a value add for Pink Boots and having the organization still have representation and a platform for individuals, not just that are getting into it, but those that have been in the industry for a while that can offer their leadership some insight to how the past has been, but how things are growing and how things have changed in a positive manner. And with craft beer kind of on the decline a little bit, but just having those women who are available to kind of touch points that you can have as a connection, I think is very valuable. I'd like to see Pink Boots take more of kind of a little bit more of a risk to be a little bit more emboldened to be out there in a platform in front of others. I know we do a really great job on the chapter level, but kind of being there and engaging a little bit more with, say, the suppliers or even the breweries to make sure that, a brewery that supports Pink Boots, that has members, gets to display that appropriately and proudly. I think that would help kind of individuals know a little bit more about the organization. I know we're member-based, which is amazing, and I support that fully, but I think also encouraging breweries to support their members, but also proudly show that they support Pink Boots in a larger manner, I think is also really cool. And I think we've tried a little bit of stuff, we've dabbled a little bit here and there with that, but I think maybe taking that to the next step, especially as we hit, I think it's going to be 20 years we're coming up next year on the organization. And I think that would be a really great way to show the world that, we're here to stay and that, we really want a place to be a part of.
So that I can really agree with you with that. To I think we're a beacon of hope for people, for women and non-binary members, but to really be forward facing, continue to be forward facing and stepping up. I know that this is like a stepping stone. We're trying to get up there higher and higher and higher. Um, yeah, go
Yeah,
ahead.
how like I think a lot of breweries, they post that like they're BA members or they've been a BA member since X, Y, and Z. And granted, that is definitely because it's a business. But I think even if you had like a Pink Boots supporter, at least it gets the conversation going. And if people were to ask, well, what's Pink Boots Society about? Having individuals, even though they may not be members, but having your staff have an understanding of what the organization is, I think is also a great way to open doors for others. Right,
Yeah.
you're saying you're talking about something inside the industry that's supporting your, hopefully you support Pink Boots Society and your members to be a part of it, your staff, what have you. But I think it also allows the individuals that just don't know too much to learn a little bit more without us being the ones that are helping to drive it. Now you got the support of the community to continue what we're doing, because we do great work, right? The scholarships we offer are fantastic. And I think even on the local level, the scholarships that are offered, if you're access to that, is awesome. And I know a lot of women and non-binary individuals who have received them that really kind of, if you receive a scholarship, you feel almost even um, more required, not necessarily required is the wrong word, but more passionate to support and become a volunteer and become, more involved in what's happening behind the scenes and not just like a member based individual.
And that kind of leads me into the discussion as far as Volunteer Appreciation Week. So, what would you say to someone who's still kind of on the fence about volunteering on the local level or even the national level?
So I think, obviously the time commitment can be a little bit daunting. I think if people have an understanding of what the ask is, what they're looking for you to do, even if, you have an interest in volunteering, even joining a couple of meetings virtually or, talking to others that have volunteered in that role, having a real conversation of like what the ask is super important. That way, that it's something that you really want to be able to invest your time and energy in, because, we're all volunteers, that it's a lot of ask of your personal time, but it's also super rewarding whenever you're getting to meet individuals from across the world that are doing the same thing or at least have the same interests that you do. And then whenever you can support and execute on anything, it's like even more rewarding. So I just say, if people have an interest or if they're on the fence, join a couple of meetings if you get the ask and at least try it out. There's no harm in just trying it out. There's no written contract that you have to stay forever or anything like that. But if you have an interest and a desire, I talk to another volunteer and see what their experience has been like. And that way you have a better understanding of what the ask is for you.
Definitely. And also for me being the volunteer coordinator at this time, uh, definitely reach out to volunteers at pinkbluesociety.org, and we will definitely get you in a place where you feel like you belong, that you can be inspired and encouraged, because sometimes I think that some folks that are members, they are wanting things to change, and the best way to do it is to come and volunteer, and it helps
Oh,
with the change.
absolutely. Yeah. Well, and I'd
Yeah.
say also it gives you a chance to maybe try out other skills that you don't know that you have, right? So you get to
Hmm.
a chance to try something new. Maybe you're not so great at social media, but you want to support that side. Or maybe you're not so great at the educational side, but you have ideas or thoughts that would be great. Like you can definitely hone in different opportunities. And then the great thing is you get to learn a little bit about yourself and, you get to thrive. And then that's, I think for me, ultimately, everything that's been inside of Pink Boots helped me understand that I'm stronger and I'm more talented than I thought I was. And that I have the capability of doing things that I didn't think I'd ever have a chance to do. And so for me, I'm super grateful. Like Pink Boots is like my life. I mean, I've got Pink Boots everywhere in my life. So I think that's been like the most impactful thing for me is it's allowed me to thrive in ways I didn't think I could. And once I'm able to do that, or once I learned I was able to do that, it's like the confidence booster was amazing.
Well, Laura, I really appreciate everything that you've shared with us. And since we're coming up on our 20-year anniversary, so you've been sticking with us for at least 20 years, right?
Yes, I am not
And you're
going
not
anywhere.
going, and you're not going anywhere.
You can't get rid
Absolutely.
of me just yet, Angie.
All right, we won't. We got to keep you. We got to keep you and keep everyone else. Well, thank you so much. Thank you for everyone for joining Pink Boots Society. Just our little, I guess I would say our little fireside chat with one of our longstanding members. And y'all have a great day.